The podcast DM outreach method is one of the best methods I've ever used, hands down, through my 5 years of doing DM outreach for my agency and other agency owners. We sent over hundreds of thousands of DMs, landed tens of thousands of appointments, but nothing works quite like the podcast method. And I'm about to share with you why. Even though it is a longer, intensive outreach process and funnel, right? And I'll talk about the cons behind it for sure in a moment. It is one of the most relational, relationship-based generation type of lead magnets, type of way to get people to trust you, to gain exposure, and ultimately land just better clients. And I wanted to make this video, especially when it became apparent that we're doing such a good job for one of our agencies going after cybersecurity, where he was landing as much as 7 deals or 7 appointments every day. It was amazing. And you can see the kind of conversations I'm just showing you right here. I'll talk about the script in a second, but people saying thanks sounds awesome or that sounds awesome. I would be very interested in discussing it. People saying I would love to discuss. Okay, let's schedule time together to chat. Have a great weekend. So a lot of people get open to it, and I'm excited to share with you how we're doing this. So just kind of sharing prerequisites before we dive into the actual script. Again, here are the pros is that it's a relationship based generation. As you do a podcast with them, not only, do you just gain exposure, but you also get more they also get more familiar with you and your brand, who you are. They see that, wow, this person actually knows a lot about my industry as well, and they're asking the right questions about the market and the industry. They also see you, therefore, as an expert, and you can also repurpose that content literally because this is a podcast on other platforms on social media, YouTube, LinkedIn itself, Instagram, etc. And people, your prospects can see that you know a lot about your industry as well, and that you know a lot of other people. You're well connected in your industry, just really showing you as an expert and really an authoritative figure. Now, obviously, the biggest con is that if you are going to do this, expect that it's going to be time intensive. There's going to be multiple touch points to really do this right. We don't want to be bait and switchy right off the bat, where you actually don't ever do a podcast. You actually do a podcast. It's going to take a lot of touch points. And it's not always guaranteed that you will get to the pitch meeting, where after the podcast, you invite them to pitch them about your service, right? There is a way to actually increase your chances of getting them interested and ultimately moving forward once they are in the meeting with you about it, but it's not always guaranteed, right? And I'm going to show you how we can actually prevent that. So no worries. So here's just some prerequisites, and then we'll dive into the script in a second. So obviously, you need a podcast, therefore you need a podcast name. You can easily chat GPT a name that would go well with your niche and what you're, solving in terms of the podcast. So once you do that, where do you put your podcast? Like I said earlier, YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all these social media platforms, great for clipping into reels and good for authority, like I said, as a pro. LinkedIn itself. Then step three, now how do you actually conduct the podcast? So before you actually hold the actual podcast with the prospect, you actually want to have a preparatory meeting to prepare. This will be a quick 10, 15-minute Zoom call with them, or it could be a phone call. The way you want to conduct it is pretty simple, almost like a discovery call, really. You just want to introduce yourself, get to know each other, kind of a quick overview of their business, who they are, how long they've been in business, and then again, just as a reminder, do not pitch yourselves here, right? Just really genuinely get to know them and their business. They could ask questions naturally about what you do, and that's totally fine to share it. But keep it focused on the podcast. We're really trying not to pitch here unless they want us to pitch us. But anyways, you run through how the podcast session will go, what to have ready and prepared, topics and questions you'll ask. And that last part is an important one if they usually need a little bit more time to prepare their answers. Go ahead and tell them like, hey, I'm gonna most likely ask you questions about where the market's going, how are you dealing with this? What do you have to say to people who say that this is not important, right? Their service is not important or they're scared of this. What would you say? Right? So prepare some interview questions if they want it, so that they're ready. Then we get into the actual filming day, right? Maybe you book this in the following day or later that day, whatever. This could be 30 minutes to an hour long. My mental notes is just let them, be present with them, listen, make this all about them. Forget about pitching them. This is legit a podcast. So ask them thoughtful and meaningful questions, stay present with them, and then at the end, of course, acknowledge and thank them. Then after you end the podcast, just as you facilitate time, make sure obviously they don't have to go to another meeting or whatever. Maybe there's 5 to 10 minutes after, just tied to how you didn't realize how they're doing X with their marketing or sales or operations, whatever you're trying to sell them, right? A SaaS, AI, lead generation, etc. And then kind of position it more as a question to ask, hey, have you ever thought about Z method, your method? And maybe they'll say, "Yeah, I've tried that before. I haven't really seen it successful. Have you, or do you do that?" And then that invites an opportunity to actually have the actual call, a demo call. And most of the times when you do it that way, it's going to work very well. Okay. So that's kind of the structure to knowing, how to run a podcast and obviously get prospects to be on your podcast. So with that all said, now we can actually jump into the DM outreach method. So if you are doing LinkedIn, I do highly recommend you get Sales Navigator Core. That allows you to get InMails. I said this on several videos, but really quick, InMails allow you to bypass connections, which is like you have to wait for a connection request before you can message them further. But Sales Navigator Core gives you 150 InMails a month. From there, I've seen people get anywhere from 20 to even 33% uh, reply rates in InMails. So that's an equivalent to basically 50 replies, getting 5 to 10 bookings. So it's highly recommended and worth it, right? And on top of that, you get 200 connections a week plus. So with that said, you got your subject line. Just keep it really simple. Keep it human. You can just simply say, if you're using InMails, nice to connect, or hi, first name, quick question for first name, right? Keep it very simple there. If you're doing the connection request, you can just say, hey, I saw that you're in this industry, liked your profile, would love to connect, right? Keep it very generic. Then we're going to go into the podcast invitation message. So what you really want to do here is acknowledge their world and accomplishments, right? Next, share how their expertise can be insightful for them and or for your audience, and then just simply invite them. So this is where we actually really want to personalize it based off what we're seeing on on their profile. So if you said like, "Hey, name," your again acknowledge their accomplishments, um, and then from there, you just want to say, I'd like to invite you to be featured on our podcast discussing why niche service is essential, not optional, right? Basically help them understand, like, I'm actually helping you and your brand and your service get out there to the masses. Your insights on education and training in whatever industry, law firms or personal injury or real estate in Sacramento would be invaluable to our audience. Looking forward to staying connected and in the loop of your successes. And then just quick signage your name. So again, I'll show you some examples here of this agency doing it, going after cybersecurity. They're saying like, hey, Adam, your leadership as CEO at 6 Row Incorporated contributes significantly to how organizations approach cybersecurity as a core priority. Great first line right there. Here's another one. With Perkins Cybersecurity Educational Fund is impressive. I'd like to invite you to be featured on our podcast. Great. And I think there's one more. No? Oh, okay. So that's basically like examples right there. We actually have an AI tool that knows how to personalize messages based off their profile. And we just simply prompt it to do this. It acknowledges their accomplishments and just scrape milestones, posts, active posts that they made to really do this on autopilot. If you want information, you could just talk to me, book a meeting down below in the descriptions. But once you do that, that's where you can simply um, handle the response. If they accept the request, then take them to that preparatory meeting for 10-15 minute Zoom to help them out get prepared for that Zoom call, or I'm sorry, that podcast. If they want more information, just simply give them more information. And if they ask a question, to say fair question. We recently started this podcast to shine light on, problem number one or problem number two, and how niche is the best solution for it, right? So if it was like a med spa, for example, it's like how shine light on um, aging and wrinkles can easily be solved by a med spa's Botox or M sculpting. I'm totally going riffing off right here, being the best solution. Worth a quick Zoom this week or a quick chat this week. You can do either, whatever. But basically, you just want to give them more information before you invite them. Again, obviously, sometimes they might not get to your message that same day. So you just want to have some urgent follow-up to kind of see if they're still interested. So like after 1 to 3 days, we'll put like 1 to 3. It's like, hey name, no, you're swamped. Still think we can collaborate on a podcast worth a quick chat. And then after 3 to 5 days, that's where you can say, hey name, we recently had another prospect or like a someone else in their industry share blank on podcast. And then follow-up number three. It's just 5, 7 days later, after a week of not hearing back, you can say, tried reaching out a few times, but seems you're busy. We can put it on the shelf for now, but let me know if you're ever wanting to hop on. Pretty simple. And then they can come back usually and say, like, hey, I've just been busy, but yeah, we can definitely schedule it for next week. And so, yeah, sometimes they're even more proactive where they want to give you a time that works for them. It's amazing. But yeah, this is literally something that not only just gets you more bookings, but clients. You know, Ivan and Luis, these guys going after cybersecurity, they leverage this quite often, the strategy. And they tell me all the time, like, yeah, we just closed another client. We just closed another client. Really good stuff right there. They're closing like 2K, 3K deals a month with these cybersecurity firms. So, that's basically the script right here. This is the workflow to getting that booked appointment. And then again, how to really run the podcast so you actually can do good sales and actually develop a relationship. Sometimes they might not be ready, but keep them in touch and they will appreciate it because you develop that relationship. They don't see you as first off someone salesy, they see you as another expert in their field that really is passionate about their service and their work, which anyone can appreciate. So this is a system right here. If you got questions about your niche, will this work? What kind of scripts or lines will work? Let me know by in the comments. And again, we are automating this and using AI to personalize the messages. We're one of the first people to ever do it, and I'll transparently say it works very well. Gotten them like 7 appointments. If you want similar results and just have us implement it and talk about the script, I'm more than happy. Just again, book a call with me down below, and I'd love to do it for you. So hope this was helpful. Hopefully, this podcast method will actually get you a lot of appointments for your industry in a lot of competitive, saturated industries so that you can stand out. Peace.